Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the show. Listen, I'm glad to have you guys here. This show, I'm going to talk about the new world we're entering. I'm going to name it. I'm going to call it Poverty World. That's what hyperinflation does. We are entering into hyperinflation. The Federal Reserve and all of the other central banks on Earth are going to continue to work in a coordinated effort to try to stop this oncoming recession. But it's more than a recession, because they've built up a credit bubble, which is all debt. All the money out there in the world right now is credit. Well, I shouldn't say all of it, not all of it, but a good chunk of it. 99.99% of it is all just expanded credit. The biggest money creation tool in the world is when banks extend a loan. What they're doing is creating that money from thin air. What they don't create is the extra money you're going to need to pay back that loan. And this is credit expansion. They've expanded the credit now to the limit, and there's only one direction they can continue to move, is to continue to expand it. But the problem is a lot of people who take out loans on credit and everything are tapped out. So now the central banks are going to have to support the credit bubble by keeping expanding the credit bubble. It's going to break out like a rash. We already see that in the repo market. That's the first pimple in the rash. So what do? They put some cream on it. The cream is money. So that pimple's going down now. But more pimples are going to pop out here, there, and everywhere in the system. And they're going to have to run to each pimple. Instead of treating the underlying disease that's creating these pimples, they're going to run around putting cream on them. Cream is money. And as they do this, as they keep having to do this more and more, you're going to see the value of the fiat monetary system and the money that's in the fiat system. I call it money, actually it's not, it's credit. You're going to see that credit expand, and as it expands and expands, you're going to see the value, the purchasing power of your fiat currencies decrease. And this is going to happen more and more and more and more, faster. So what's not part of this? There's only 3 assets out there that a normal person can get into that's not part of this, that's real and tangible. I'll list them for you. It's gold, silver, and cryptocurrencies. So what's going to happen when all this happens? Well, an unusual thing is going to happen when all of this starts to advance to a certain point where people start to lose faith in the purchasing power of the fiat currencies. And a very unusual thing's going to happen. An alternative market is going to form worldwide. People have to have, and they will find this through history. History shows us that this is true. People will use seashells for money. People will use salt for money. I mean, that's where the term salary comes from salt. They used to pay the Roman soldiers in salt. That's why the old saying, you're not worth your salt, come from. People will use anything for money. But they don't have to use anything for money. We now have a money that's better than the fiat money that's in the fiat monetary system. It's called cryptocurrencies. And we have gold and silver, actual physical coins. All of these 3 things are going to go up in value massively during the crisis that's being generated by the central banks. When that crisis hits, all 3 of these things are going to go up massively in value. And an alternative marketplace is going to form that does not run on the fiat monetary system. Now, these 2 marketplaces are going to be coexisting, and it's already actually happening. And why I can say that is people are already purchasing things with Bitcoin They're already purchasing things with Litecoin. They're already, but it's not big yet. It's small. And that's because the fiat monetary system is handling most of the purchases right now. But as the fiat monetary system collapses, this secondary market is going to form. Worldwide, it's going to be a phenomenon. It's because people have to trade. People have to do business. And if they can't put their reliance on the fiat monetary system, an alternative system will form. I mean, take a look. In New York City, Tide laundry detergent is money. Big bottles of Tide. They have a set value of what they're worth, too. This is an alternative monetary system in New York for Tide laundry detergent. But we have something so much better. We have something you can send halfway around the world in a split second. I mean, I made a transaction the other day with Litecoin, and I was just basically transferring from one wallet to another wallet on my system, like I have a couple computers, you know. So I put the amount in the one wallet, how much I want to send, and I hit the send button. And I'm going to tell you, it wasn't 1 second. It wasn't a fifth of a second. It was about a tenth of a second. As soon as I hit send, the other wallet said received. It showed me received. I couldn't even, it was a nanosecond. That's how fast. Now, I could have just as easily been sending that money halfway around the world, and it would have arrived in my recipient's wallet in that same nanosecond. But I could see the transaction speed myself because I was doing it from one computer that I owned to another computer. And I mean, I could see how fast it traveled through the internet. But that doesn't matter. Distance doesn't matter. It travels at the speed of light. Isn't this a wonderful invention? We don't need a third party. We don't need a bank to verify the transaction. We can send money to whoever we want anywhere on earth. We can hold the money in our own wallet. We don't need a bank anymore. And instantaneously they'll get it. This is going to create an alternative marketplace. And gold and silver, real physical gold and silver, are going to have their place in this new marketplace. A very strong place. Now, to make a case for silver, you know, I was watching a video today. It's very well done, very well thought out, very well put together by a channel called the Best Small Country, I think it's called. Anyway, I'll put the link in the description. I found it a very interesting video about silver. It was about, I guess, a dozen minutes long, you know. But it was very interesting, and it made a number of points that you need to know if you're purchasing silver. So anyway, I'll put the link in the description. Anyway, let's get on with what I'm talking about here. This alternative marketplace. As we move into people getting poorer and poorer, and why people are going to get poorer and poorer is the very fact that the people like us who know about gold and silver, the people like us who know about cryptocurrencies and who are putting a little bit away for themselves, but the vast majority of people out there don't have a clue. They're clueless. And this represents the vast majority of the people out there. But when this hyperinflation gets going and their fiat currencies that they are totally reliant upon, say they got a bank account and everything that they have is in this fiat monetary system, when this starts to cave in and go down, and this new monetary system it's already up and running in the cryptocurrencies. But it's only going to grow much more expansive and larger. It's going to grow exponentially fast. You're going to be amazed how fast it grows once this crisis really gets underway. The people that have put their faith in this present monetary system are going to be making a transition. The weakest link, you know, is going to be silver. So it's probably going to receive a tremendous amount of value. But regardless of that, it's going to create poverty. And I'll explain to you why. If you're on a fixed income and you see prices going up massively high, from this inflation that they're going to create, your income is not going to keep up with that inflation. And even if you have a job, the wage increases are not going to keep up with the inflation. Your wages will go up. Grant you, they will go up, but they're not going to keep up with inflation. And so what's going to happen in the end, it's going to slowly chew or erode away at your purchasing power, and it's going to create poverty within the system. At the same time, this alternative monetary system, which is the cryptocurrencies, gold and silver, are going to be acting to facilitate trade more and more. And the value of these are going to be going up higher and higher as the poverty increases out there. So we're looking at a weird kind of world. This is what's coming. It's coming in the next 5 years, by the way. We're not talking about 20 years from now or anything. This is coming in the next 5 years. Imagine a world where whole cities spring up. I can't tell you exactly where they'll spring up, but these are people who basically have had a low-paying job, and what happens is they have to decide whether they're going to pay the rent this month or they're going to buy food. So what's going to happen is these people are going to be forced out of their place of residence, and they're going to have to start doing things like living in a car or living in one of these new cities that are going to spring up. There'll probably be hundreds of thousands of people in these cities. And what the government's reaction is at a certain point, like right now, this is just beginning, and there's a few of these homeless, like small homeless cities springing up around major cities in the United States. It's just in the first infancy. It's just beginning. But they move them around. They keep like, you guys can't stay here. This is next to a residential neighborhood, and they don't want you here anymore, and you got to move. So they move them on the other side of town. And then the people there say, we don't want them there, and you got to move them someplace else, and they move to the other side of town. Well, there's going to come a time when they can't move them because there's just too many. So the government's answer to all of this is they will put a fence around the whole area. The government will. And they'll basically coordinate them off. And as time progresses, as these cities grow bigger yet, we're talking maybe 100,000 people in one of these cities that just don't have a home. And they'll build homes from whatever they can find. There'll be a lot of tents. There'll be a lot of homes that are built with old styrofoam that's off of building sites and pieces of plywood wrapped together with duct tape and rope with tarpaulins over the roof. And at nighttime, they'll use for light, they'll be using these little Chinese-made, they run off a battery, you know, and the little tiny LED lights, you know. One of those lights will be their living room light, you know, and if they got a shack that they've built for themselves, and just one light hung in the center of the room, run off a battery, you know, and the battery will run it for days because it only draws like a tiny amount of electricity, and that's what their light will be, dimly lit. These little houses, they'll build little houses for themselves, you know, and after a while, basically, they're claiming this area, and the government will end up putting a fence around the whole place. The police forces won't even want to go inside. And we could see these homeless cities swell to populations of 200,000-300,000 people. What the government will come in the end and do is they'll take all of these people, and they'll put them on a guaranteed income. So the government is going to transfer, ultimately, the dollar into a digital currency. And every one of these people in these homeless villages will have a telephone. And their payment in these new dollars that they're going to create will be transmitted to their phone automatically. The only thing they'll have to do to get this helicopter money is have a social security number and register. on a government website. And the payments will be automatic right to their phone in the new dollars. It's only going to increase the hyperinflation. And so these people will have money for food in these homeless communities. So what is the government going to do? Well, they'll come in and build a government-run grocery store right in the homeless community. And they'll back truckloads of food up into it. And they'll sell it for the same money that they're giving to these people every week on their telephones. And they'll come in and pay for it by scanning their phone. They'll pay for... This is already happening in China. It'll be coming here to our shores when the poverty world hits. Because that's where we're heading, poverty world. And these people will pay for this on their phones and stuff. And the amount of poor and homeless is going to increase to the point where this is the only way that they can respond to it. What you're going to find is these cities that might swell to a population of 300,000, you'll have maybe 10,000 new people coming in to the city every month. So you got a population of 300,000. The city might be so big that you can't walk from one side of it to the other. Of these tents and camps and old buildings put together, and the government will basically turn a blind eye to it because they're selling stuff to them. They're selling food, but they're giving them the money for it. Picture this kind of a world. This is where we're going, guys. And ultimately, you're going to find that other businesses will spring up. There'll be shanty-like businesses. It's like third world sort of thing, you know what I mean? And this alternate monetary system I've been telling you about, that runs on Bitcoin and stuff, will be where the premium goods will be sold back and forth over the telephone. They'll be using Bitcoin, Litecoin, and everything else. The poor people that are in these shanty towns and stuff. And they'll use it for their savings, too, to try to get out. Because the people that are living in these places, they're going to want to get out. So you'll have a population of, say, 300,000 people in this homeless city. You know, let's call it Trampville. And maybe a big sign in front of it, you know, in front of the homeless place with a picture of Trump on it. It says Trampville. Or something like that. I'm just making this stuff as I go along, but okay, you got a population of 300,000. You got 10,000 new people moving in every month because they've basically lost their job, or they've couldn't keep up with the rent because of inflation, so they move in, you know. And you'd say to yourself, well, the population's going to swell to 3. No, the population is staying at 300,000. So you got 300,000 population, 10,000 new people moving in every month, and the population is not growing. In fact, maybe it's decreasing a little bit. You say, well, why? Why is the population decreasing? That's because in this giant city of 300,000 people that they've named Trampville, you know, and they'll know everybody that's in there because they'll probably issue them some sort of a card. And they'll probably have to use it to get in through the gates or turnstiles because, like I said, they're going to put a fence around it. They'll end up putting a fence around it in the end. And so you'll get in with maybe some sort of a key lock or something that'll be coded to a number that belongs to you, and that's your number to get paid every month on your phone. Remember I said they'd be paying you on your phone? So maybe you'll get $40,000 a month on your phone. You know, and each month it'll go up. So it's 40,000 this month. Next month you'll get 43,000. The month after that, 46,000 a month. But you got to understand something. Hold on, before you think you're going to get rich getting this $43,000 a month, one beer or one pack of crisps is going to cost like $600. You know, off of your phone. So that money is just going to be enough for you to feed yourself. Very little more. And this is why I say inflation's going to run away. Okay? So they're all living in this camp. And you're going to say, well, now, why is the population decreasing if 10,000 new people are moving in every month? And I'll tell you exactly the reason why. It's because there's bed bugs, there's roaches, there's the flu, and a lot of these people, like, stuff happens. I mean, they go into their tent, and they get a big rainstorm, and they get all soaking wringing wet, and they come down with the flu, And, of course, in this kind of a world that's coming, in poverty world, one night in the hospital costs like $500,000. That's if you can get an ambulance to come get you anyway, and you're so sick you can't even walk, And this is what's going to be like in Povertyville. Povertyville is going to be a bad place to be. You're just not going to want to be there. But what about the regular city? What's the regular city going to be like? Say Povertyville is in the suburbs of Los Angeles or something, And Los Angeles is actually a lot bigger. Well, there's still going to be a lot of people living in Los Angeles. And they'll still have their jobs. And they'll still be able to buy the food at the grocery store and stuff, but they'll be just making ends meet because the food's going to be so expensive. You see, what's going to happen in this, what's coming in our future, near future is, you're going to see food prices go through the roof. Through the roof. Whereas rent prices are going to go up some. They're going to go up, but rent is going to, in comparison to food, rent is going to start to actually look cheaper, because it's not just like your labor didn't keep up with inflation. Well, real estate prices didn't either. They didn't go up that much in this kind of a world, but food prices went through the roof. It's one of the things. Certain things are going to go up, and certain things are not going to go up that much, and so you're gonna be in a world that's topsy-turvy, and in the city, a lot of people are going to live in the city. They'll probably have a curfew, because did I tell you, crime is probably going to be much more extensive than it was ever before, and they'll probably have a curfew, and you'll probably have to be in, because probably from the hours of like 11 o'clock at night to like 4 o'clock in the morning, they'll probably switch all the power off, even to the big city, even to Los Angeles, or one of these big cities. Say it's Los Angeles, Well, I'm just making all this stuff up, but this is the kind of where we're going with all this. So they'll probably shut the power off like at 11 o'clock at night, and the only ones allowed out then would be the military. So they'll be driving through with their Humvees with great big spotlights on their Humvees, And they'll be looking for anything that moves. Anything that moves, they'll arrest it. They'll be shining that spotlight around all night long as they're driving through the city. Anybody that's outside their house. So all of a sudden, when the curfew's going to end at 4 o'clock in the morning, everybody's counting down. They're standing behind their doorway. I got to get to work, And they're standing behind their doorway looking at their watch, waiting until the clock strikes 4 a.m. Because if they step outside that door before 4 a.m., they're going to get arrested. So they'll wait until it's like 4:01, and then they'll hear the alarm. And they're allowed to go out. Crack of dawn. To go to work again, and stuff. The day will start, And this is the kind of world we're heading to. We're heading toward a world where there'll be surveillance everywhere in the cities. They'll have cameras everywhere, especially at nighttime, with facial recognition technology. And if you're out at past curfew time, well, you're going to be in a lockup the next day. But everything's going to stay running, guys. There's still going to be law enforcement. There's still going to be your grocery stores are going to maintain their food. It's just that the prices are going to go through the roof because these world central banks are just going to keep pumping the money out there. It's not going to stop. This is the direction we're going. So this is what's going to create poverty world. But like I say, there's going to be this second black, well, I'm not going to call it, well, let's call it a black market, an alternative marketplace that's going to grow worldwide, and it's going to run, its heart, its engine is going to be cryptocurrencies. And you'll be able to buy anything with it. More so than you can with fiat, because there's going to be a lot of places out there that just don't accept fiat currencies. We don't want that garbage. Have you got any Ethereum? We'll take that. Oh yeah. And we'll give you a bonus. 20% off for Ethereum today, because we want Ethereum really bad. You know? Or we want XRP or whatever. But no, dollars, no, we don't take that here, sorry. We don't take dollars here. Besides, you're going to need a whole barrel full of them anyway. You know, this is the kind of world we're headed to. We're headed to Bizarro land. Thank the world's central banks. They're going to make everyone poor, except the ones who had the foresight in advance to buy into this alternative system before the alternative system is actually standing on its feet yet. Right now, this alternative system exists already. But it's like a toddler crawling along the ground. You know? Where the fiat monetary system is like an old man who knows how to walk really good, you know, and everything else. He can walk. Whereas the toddler is still crawling. You know? That's the alternative monetary system is the toddler. It's the cryptographic currencies and it's the Bitcoin and all these other things and the silver and the gold. That's like the toddler. It's just barely crawling along the floor. And the old fella, he can still walk, he can still trot, he can still do things, but he's 97 years old. What do you think's going to happen in the next couple years? The toddler's going to get older and bigger, and he's going to be able to run. And the old fella, he's going to be in a wheelchair, and then later, it's going to be worse for him. He's going to be pushing up daisies. This is where we're going. Listen, thank you guys for listening. Like and subscribe, and we'll catch you guys in the next show. Bye-bye.